My parents had me when they were just 15. They managed to stay married for 5 years until my dad cheated. That's when my mom started her crusade to make me hate my father. She'd tell me horrible things about him, that he was a criminal, sold illegal substances, and got involved in dangerous situations. The thing is, while all of that was true because my dad came from a rough background, I never stopped loving him. Throughout my childhood, my mom would constantly scream at me, demanding to know how I could possibly love my father after he cheated on her and ruined their family. I think my dad used the cheating as an escape route from my mom. Even as a kid, I could tell she wasn't right in the head. My husband later said she had the personality of someone who'd make false accusations just to get her way. The first time my dad went to prison, I was 6. My mom threw a party to celebrate. She gleefully announced to everyone that the criminal was finally where he belonged. When he got out when I was 11, she threw what she called a funeral because he was dead to her. This sick pattern continued throughout my teenage years. Every time he went in, she'd celebrate. Every time he got out, she'd mourn. When I got married at 18, I wanted my dad to walk me down the aisle. My mom completely lost it. She tried to forbid him from coming, screaming that he wasn't worthy of being at my wedding. When I stood my ground and told her it was my wedding and my father would walk me down the aisle, she threatened not to come. I simply told her that was her choice to make. She did show up, but she made such a scene that my wedding photos all show her crying dramatically in the background. That was when I had a serious talk with my dad. I told him I was pregnant, that he was going to be a grandpa, and begged him to quit that life. He promised me he was done with all of it, calling me his baby girl, and he kept his word. He became the most amazing grandpa to my daughter. He and my husband would have their weekly beer meetings every Monday. But 7 months ago, when I found out I was pregnant with my second child, tragedy struck. My dad missed his weekly playdate with my daughter and wasn't answering his phone. I found him gone. At his funeral, my mom showed up dressed in all black, fake crying. When we were alone, she looked me straight in the eyes and said the most horrible racist things about my dad being in hell. I lost it and grabbed a handful of her hair right there. Despite everything, my pregnancy hormones made me stupid enough to let her back into my life. I just wanted a parent around, I guess. But yesterday proved that was the biggest mistake ever. Every Saturday, my family visits my dad's grave. My daughter sits on my lap while my husband pushes my wheelchair, and we talk to Grandpa. We bring flowers and maintain his grave since he burned a lot of bridges in his past life, and not many people visit him. We missed a few weeks recently due to some drama with my dad's ex, and my daughter was so excited to finally visit her grandpa again. But when we got there, my heart stopped. Written across his tombstone were the words, "I'm sorry, my name." All the pictures we'd left were smashed, along with the candles and his precious car collection items we'd placed there. I took a photo and texted my mom. When I asked her why she would do this, she coldly replied that it was the only way she knew to get me to respond to her. I told her she was sick and that I was calling the police. She tried to use her position as my mother to intimidate me, saying I wouldn't dare call them. But I did call them. While they were arresting her, she actually punched one officer and clawed another's face. My stepdad, her third husband by the way, called to tell me she's looking at serious jail time now. The officers came back later to take my statement. They told me that my mother was facing multiple charges: vandalism of a grave site, assault on law enforcement officers, and resisting arrest. I told them good, that I hoped she would serve every single day. My stepdad keeps calling, trying to guilt me into dropping the charges. He keeps insisting that she's still my mother and that family should forgive each other. I told him that she stopped being my mother the day she celebrated my father going to prison, and that she could rot in jail. The court date is next month, and I've already been told she's looking at a minimum of 5 years. My husband says it's poetic justice. She threw parties when my dad went to prison, and now she's heading there herself. My daughter asked where her grandma was, and I told her the truth, that bad people who hurt others have to go away for a while. She just nodded and asked if we could still visit Grandpa's grave. We do every Saturday, and now nobody's there to ruin our family time. My best friend is one of the smartest people I know, literally a rocket scientist with a doctorate in astrophysics. He's also one of the kindest souls you'll ever meet. The type who catches mice in the house just to release them outside because he can't bear to hurt anything. But being brilliant doesn't always help with matters of the heart, especially when you're grieving. He lost his first wife to ovarian cancer about 7 years ago. She was one of those people who became more beautiful the longer you knew her, inside and out. When she passed suddenly from a ruptured artery, it left him completely heartbroken and lonely. That's when Karen entered the picture. She was our high school's it girl. Think young Pamela Anderson, but even more stunning. Time hadn't been kind to her, though, and at 50, she wasn't turning heads like she used to, but she still knew how to work her charm when she wanted something. My friend never stood a chance. Karen love-bombed him hard, and within months, she had moved into his house. That's when everything changed. She started cutting him off from all his friends, including me. She would gaslight him constantly, and we could only watch from a distance as she slowly took over his life. Karen had expensive tastes and a history of burning through money. She'd already blown through her parents' $400,000 inheritance when she set her sights on my friend. Once, she spent $30,000 on a horse just because she liked its color, despite having no experience with horses or anywhere to keep it. Animal control had to get involved when they found she was trying to keep it in a one-car garage. My wife, who has 2 doctorates and works as a surgeon with disabled veterans and children, became a target of Karen's criticism. She would constantly berate my wife, saying she was wasting her life working with what she called losers at the VA and Children's Hospital. She'd suggest my wife should be making real money doing plastic surgery instead of helping people who couldn't pay. This was rich coming from someone who had blown through every penny she'd ever gotten her hands on. She even had the nerve to call me an entitled leech because I received VA medical care. Never mind that I earned it with a broken back, lost joints, and 3/4 of one lung. After 4 years, my friend finally saw through her act. When he asked her to move out, she refused. That's when things got interesting. She had always had her eye on his valuable china collection, inherited from his great-grandparents. It was so valuable he had to lock it in a safe because she had a habit of breaking things when she didn't get her way. When the eviction notice time was up, we helped pack her things and put them in the garage. That's when one of our friends had a brilliant idea. We took some warning, extremely fragile stickers from my shop and labeled all her boxes, my friend's china, in big black marker. When Karen showed up with her sister and friend, she completely lost it. She started screaming about how the house was hers too. My friend calmly explained that her time was up according to the eviction notice and her things were packed and ready to go. She then demanded the china collection, but my friend told her that china wasn't hers and never would be. That's when she really snapped. She got in her BMW SUV, a birthday gift from my friend, ironically, and rammed straight into the boxes, breaking through the garage wall in the process. Not satisfied with one hit, she backed up and rammed them again. We had already called the police, and the whole thing was caught on surveillance cameras. When they arrived, they asked about the mislabeled boxes. I casually explained that we had just reused some old boxes from when my friend moved in because they were handy. One officer actually started laughing when he realized what we'd done. Turned out Karen had destroyed her own belongings, thinking they were the precious china collection. The front of her BMW was so damaged the doors wouldn't even open properly. We paid for 1 month of storage and moved what was left of her stuff there, complete with all the drywall, wood splinters, and insulation from the garage wall she'd destroyed. She has tried to break into the house 3 times since then, but it's all on camera. My friend is finally smiling again, spending time with his friends and catching up on all the years we lost. Karen's been charged with destruction of property and attempted breaking and entering. Her BMW is wrecked, her belongings are destroyed, and she lost the comfortable life she thought she had secured. The china collection, still safely locked away in the vault, exactly where it belongs. Now she is trying to convince people that we somehow tricked her into destroying her own stuff. But the police have the surveillance footage and her credibility isn't exactly helped by her multiple DUIs and previous drug possession charges. I'm a delivery driver for a local courier service in Melbourne, and I've been doing this job for about 3 years now. It helps pay the bills while I finish my master's degree in engineering. I've seen my fair share of road rage incidents, but nothing quite like what happened last Tuesday. I was making my usual rounds in Kew, a pretty upscale suburb. It was a fairly quiet morning, and I had just finished dropping off a package at one of our regular business clients. I needed to merge onto Burke Road to head towards my next delivery. The traffic was moderate, nothing unusual for a weekday morning. That's when I first noticed the white BMW in my rearview mirror weaving through traffic like it was a racing game. The driver was tailgating everyone, switching lanes aggressively. You know the type. They think owning a luxury car gives them ownership of the road. I was carefully merging into the left lane, using my indicator as always, when suddenly the BMW shot past me on the left side. Before I could even react, she cut right in front of me, trying to squeeze into a space that clearly wasn't big enough. There was a slight crunch as her rear bumper scraped against my front fender. I expected us to pull over normally and exchange information like reasonable adults. Instead, what happened next was absolutely bizarre. The Karen jumped out of her BMW with her phone in hand, demanding that I not move my vehicle because she needed pictures for her insurance. When I pointed out that we were blocking traffic and should move to the side, she just got more aggressive. She started yelling about how expensive her BMW was, completely dismissing my suggestion about moving to a nearby parking lot. While she was taking photos from various angles and ignoring the growing traffic jam, she started bragging about how her husband was a lawyer and she needed to document everything. I tried to stay calm and mentioned that my dash cam had recorded everything, but this only made her more excited. She thought the dash cam would prove I hit her and claimed I hadn't even signaled. When I told her that I had signaled and that her illegal overtaking was all on camera, she just scoffed and accused me of being jealous of her car, suggesting I couldn't afford the repairs. By this point, several cars were honking and a small crowd had gathered on the sidewalk. Some people had their phones out recording the whole thing. When a police car approached, the Karen seemed delighted, thinking she would finally get justice for her precious luxury vehicle. The police officer approached looking unimpressed, and the Karen immediately launched into her story, demanding that I be arrested for reckless driving and damaging her BMW. I simply mentioned having dashcam footage of the incident. The officer, being practical, ordered us to move our vehicles to the side first, as we were creating a traffic hazard. When the Karen tried to protest about her car, the officer threatened to have it towed. We finally moved to a nearby parking lot where I showed the officer my dashcam footage. The Karen's face fell as she watched herself cutting me off. The officer told her that she had illegally overtaken on the left and failed to give way when merging, and that she would be receiving a citation for dangerous driving. She tried to bring up her lawyer husband again, but the officer just sarcastically noted that her husband might be interested in seeing the footage too. That's when her attitude completely changed. She switched from demanding my arrest to trying to negotiate, suggesting we handle it without insurance and mentioning a repair shop she knew. I declined, stating I prefer to go through proper channels, especially with everything on camera. The police officer wrote up the citation and we exchanged insurance information. A few days later, I discovered that someone had posted another angle of the incident on social media. Turns out, one of the bystanders caught Karen's entire meltdown on video, including her lawyer husband comments. Her husband wasn't even a lawyer. He worked in real estate. I found this out when he personally called me to apologize for his wife's behavior. My delivery van got repaired, fully covered by her insurance, and I heard that her premiums shot up significantly. The dash cam was the best investment I ever made. It cost me $150, but it saved me from what could have been a massive headache with an entitled driver trying to pin her mistake on me. It had been a rough month at work. Being a project manager isn't easy, especially when your team is understaffed and the deadlines keep getting tighter. So when my best friend invited me to the summer music festival, I jumped at the chance. He's a bartender and always knows how to mix the perfect drinks to help me unwind. The festival was in full swing when we arrived. The weather was perfect, not too hot, with just enough breeze to keep comfortable. My friend brought his signature whiskey and coke mix in a regular plastic cup, knowing I'd need something stronger than just soda to really relax. We were enjoying the music and I was finally starting to feel the stress melt away when I felt someone tap my shoulder. Hard. I turned around to find a woman in her mid-40s with that infamous haircut standing next to a boy who looked about 12. She demanded that her son wanted my drink. When I asked her to repeat herself in confusion, she insisted that since I had Coca-Cola, I should give it to her son who was thirsty. I tried explaining to her that this wasn't just Coca-Cola and that it contained alcohol. She accused me of lying, saying she could clearly see it was Coke. She told me to stop being selfish and give it to her son, complaining that the drink lines were too long. I emphasized again that the drink contained whiskey and that I couldn't give alcohol to a minor. She dismissed my warnings, calling them excuses and telling me I was being ridiculous. Before I could react, she snatched the cup from my hand and gave it to her son. The boy, clearly used to getting his way, immediately took several big gulps. I shouted at her, reminding her again about the whiskey and the drink. The boy's face immediately scrunched up, and within seconds, he started coughing and then vomiting on the ground. The mother's face turned from smug satisfaction to rage in an instant. She started screaming for security, accusing me of poisoning her son. Several people around us started staring as two security guards rushed over. When they asked what was happening, the woman hysterically claimed that I had put something in my drink to make her son sick and demanded my arrest. I explained the truth, that I had a mixed drink with whiskey and coke, had told her repeatedly about the alcohol, but she had grabbed it from me and given it to her son anyway. My friend, who had witnessed the whole thing, stepped forward to back up my story. He identified himself as the bartender who mixed the drink and confirmed that we had warned her multiple times about the alcohol content. Several bystanders also spoke up in my defense, confirming they had heard me warning her it wasn't just soda. One specifically pointed out how she had grabbed the drink from my hand after I had said no. The security guards turned to the woman, whose face was getting redder by the second. One guard told her that taking someone's drink without permission was theft, and forcing alcohol on a minor was a serious offense, even as a parent. She tried to defend herself, stammering that she thought I was lying and that I should have stopped her. The first guard pointed out that I had tried to stop her as confirmed by multiple witnesses and told her she would have to leave the festival while they filed an incident report. She protested about having paid good money to be there, but when the second guard threatened to involve the police for endangering a minor, she finally stopped arguing. The security guards escorted her and her son out, but not before she shot me one last death glare. I could hear her screaming about wanting a refund all the way to the exit. The next day, my friend sent me a video someone had posted of the incident online. It had already gone viral, with thousands of comments calling out her entitled behavior. Apparently, she tried posting her version of events in a local Facebook group, claiming I had intentionally poisoned her son, but multiple festival goers who witnessed the incident quickly shut her down with the true story. The festival organizers ended up sending me a VIP pass for next year's event as an apology for the incident, even though it wasn't their fault. I later learned that she got banned from all future festivals organized by the company. Her son was fine, just embarrassed. My friend and I still go to the festival every year, but now we always make sure to bring our drinks in clearly labeled containers.